Picture this. The world's supposed gender equality paradise is actually falling apart at the seams. We're talking about Sweden, that Nordic wonderland everyone thinks has cracked the code on perfect society. But here's what nobody's telling you. Statistics Sweden dropped a bombshell in 2024 that's gonna blow your mind. Get this, 47% of their entire population is living solo. Not by choice, but because something's gone seriously wrong in what used to be relationship heaven. Think Stockholm sounds romantic. Think again. Time Out's 2022 research just crowned it the planet's loneliest city, beating out Copenhagen and Sydney for that depressing title. We're looking at 59% of Swedes who straight up admit they're lonely most of the time. And here's the kicker. 1 out of every 3 people says this loneliness is screwing up their daily life big time. But wait, it gets worse. 24% are desperately wishing they had more friends, while 10%, that's 1 in 10 people, have literally 0 close friends. Nobody to call, nobody to hang out with, nobody who gives a damn. What happened to that feminist utopia where independent women were supposedly living their best lives? It's turned into an emotional wasteland where women are stuck in empty apartments, scrolling through their phones, searching for something their perfect society can't deliver. Real human connection that goes deeper than surface-level small talk. Quick heads up before we dive deeper. YouTube's been playing games with subscriptions lately, dropping people without warning. Hit that subscribe button right now and smash the like. It keeps this channel alive and make sure you catch all the crazy stuff we uncover. Drop your thoughts in the comments too, because your take on this matters. Here's what's really messing with Swedish women's heads. Lund University's 2024 study revealed something wild. Decades of extreme equality have backfired so hard that women are now dealing with what psychologists call femininity shame. But they actually feel guilty about wanting traditional feminine roles or craving masculine protection. The whole system designed to liberate them has left them feeling ashamed of being women. Here's where things get really dark, and I'm not exaggerating. The World Economic Forum's 2024 report just compared Sweden's loneliness epidemic to smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. That's not some dramatic metaphor. Doctors are literally saying chronic loneliness is as deadly as chain smoking. People dealing with this isolation have a 64% higher chance of getting dementia. Plus, they're walking around with ticking time bombs in their chests, heart disease, high blood pressure, strokes that can kill them. Stockholm's getting hit the hardest. The Stockholm Gerontology Research Center crunched the numbers and found 35% of people over 75 are drowning in loneliness. And it just gets worse as they age. But here's what's really gonna mess you up. 10% of everyone, not just old people, everyone, admits they have 0 friends. None. And half of those completely friendless people say their loneliness is so bad they can't function properly, can't work, can't even take care of themselves. Swedish couples came up with this thing called Stockholm marriage. Sounds cute, right? Wrong. It's basically relationship hell, where people stay technically together but live in separate apartments and separate lives. They're so terrified of depending on each other emotionally that they've created this weird setup where you're dating someone but still fundamentally alone. Couples are describing it as devastating and unbearable, but they keep doing it because their culture has taught them that needing someone is weakness. The Nordic Council of Ministers just dropped some brutal truth bombs that'll destroy any fantasy you had about Scandinavian happiness. Young Swedish women are miserable. 19.5% admit they're unhappy with their lives, compared to only 13.8% of young men. Why? Because their society has made it basically impossible to form deep emotional bonds with anyone. Individual autonomy trumps everything, including basic human needs for connection and love. Want the final nail in the coffin? In 2021, 85.8% of Swedes confessed they struggle with loneliness regularly. Women got hit even harder, 90.7% compared to 79.1% of men. The gender equality paradise has turned into a loneliness nightmare that's hitting women the hardest. Now we're getting to the really explosive stuff that's going to change how you see modern dating forever. Lund University's Department of Sociology just exposed something that's shaking Sweden to its core. Their women are desperately hunting for foreign men because Swedish guys have basically been neutered by their own culture. The 2024 study is brutal. Swedish men are so scared of showing any masculine traits that women are calling them emotionally castrated and completely neutered. No sugarcoating, that's what they actually said. This has gotten so crazy that entire businesses have popped up just to hook Swedish women up with foreign guys who still know how to be men. International dating sites are reporting insane numbers. Sweden's got one of the world's highest rates of women actively hunting for foreign partners. They're especially going after guys from traditional cultures where men aren't afraid to act masculine and women aren't ashamed to be feminine. Here's where it gets really interesting. Swedish men used to marry Finnish women, but since the early 2000s, they've been flying to Thailand to find wives who still embrace traditional femininity. But Swedish women, they want nothing to do with Thai guys. Instead, they're going crazy for Finnish, German, and Mexican men who they see as way more masculine and capable of actually leading a relationship. Population Europe's cross-border marriages research backed this up with hard data, showing a massive cultural shift happening right under everyone's noses. Local matchmakers who specialize in international connections have been doing deep interviews, and the results are shocking. Swedish women are expressing serious frustration with their local men, calling them too passive, completely unromantic, and totally incapable of taking charge of anything. 66% straight up said they want a partner who takes more control in the relationship, the complete opposite of what Swedish culture teaches. Women are describing Swedish men as so obsessed with being equal that they've become boring and predictable in ways that kill any romantic chemistry. They're escaping to foreign men who can give them relationship dynamics that decades of social engineering completely wiped out in Sweden. The University of St. Andrews documented a 44% spike in marriage migration, young women from poorer countries coming to Sweden to marry older Swedish men, while Swedish women are simultaneously bailing on Swedish guys for foreign partners. Buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind and completely flip your understanding of what's happening in Sweden. For the first time since 1749, that's 267 years, Sweden has more men than women. CBS News and Associated Press analyzed this historic demographic flip, and it's creating a brutal competition for partners that's driving Swedish women absolutely crazy because they've never had to deal with this before. Statistics: Sweden's latest numbers are wild. In the critical 15 to 19 age group, there are now 108 men for every 100 women. A decade ago, nobody would have believed this was possible. Official projections say this could spike to 115 men per 100 women when they fully account for all the young male migrants flooding in from Afghanistan, Syria, and North African countries. Valerie Hudson from Texas A&M University, she's a major expert on women, peace and security, issued a warning that should scare everyone. Her international research shows that when countries like China and India get these unbalanced sex ratios, violence against women skyrockets and crime rates go through the roof. Sweden should be seriously worried about what's coming. This has created what researchers are calling an options crisis that's absolutely brutal for Swedish women. Mathematically, there are more available men than ever before, but fewer men that these women actually want to date based on their sky-high cultural standards. They're being forced to compete aggressively in ways that go against everything their egalitarian society taught them. Psychology: today's research on gender imbalances shows some concerning patterns. When women outnumber men, like in historical Sweden, women become more sexually active and less picky. But this new flip toward more men is creating relationship dynamics that nobody knows how to handle. Here's the devastating reality check. In Stockholm, 47% of all households are single person, the highest rate on the planet. Almost half of the women in Sweden's capital are living completely alone, many facing the harsh reality that their celebrated independence has become chronic isolation for the first time in generations. The scientific predictions for Sweden's relationship future are absolutely terrifying and will permanently change how you think about social progress. International experts from the Vienna Institute of Demography have analyzed the perfect storm of extreme loneliness, unprecedented demographic chaos, and the total destruction of gender roles, and they're calling it the complete breakdown of human intimacy happening across an entire nation. Nordic Council data reveals a statistic that should keep everyone awake at night. Swedish birth rates have crashed to 1.66 children per woman, way below the 2.1 needed just to maintain the population. Sweden is literally dying out, while its people live increasingly isolated, dysfunctional lives when it comes to basic human relationships. The divorce situation makes everything worse. Sweden consistently ranks among the world's highest for divorce rates, with people waiting until 33 women and 35.7 men to get married for the first time. Compare that to 27 for women and 29 for men in the United States. This isn't just about waiting longer. It reflects a deep cultural inability to form and keep lasting emotional bonds. Linnaeus University had to create something called the Selbo Project as an emergency response to the loneliness crisis. They're literally forcing elderly people and young immigrants to live together in shared housing because Sweden's traditional social structure completely collapsed, leaving entire generations without natural family or community support. The testimonies from residents will break your heart. Gunnel Eriksson, 86, put it brutally. "I was so lonely after my husband died a year and a half ago. The silence was completely overwhelming, and entire days could pass without me speaking to anyone, not even a single word." This is the real Sweden. Old people dying alone in total silence, while young people fight isolation in overpriced apartments. Demographic researchers are using mathematical models to predict that if these trends continue, by 2080, Sweden will be a society where most people live and die completely alone. Family systems will be gone, and people will be fundamentally unable to form meaningful human connections. Sweden's extreme equality experiment accidentally created an emotional hellscape where women, after decades of fighting for total independence, now find themselves desperately alone, competing viciously for foreign men who can give them what their own culture systematically destroyed.